Ladies and gentlemen, for another episode of the Here We Go Brownies podcast. I'm Allie. He's Dustin. We are the hosts of the Here We Go Brownies podcast, coming at you live from Myrtle Beach. He's in Boise, Idaho. Dustin, we're gonna get into it, but man, just still kind of grieving from the loss versus the Kansas City Chiefs on Sunday.
I'm not grieving, actually, Allie.
No, you feeling good?
I'm just going to give you a little secret thing I was going to say. So I left the playoffs up here, and I did this on purpose, folks. I want you to look at this behind you. That is First Energy Stadium. That says the 2020 playoffs. I want the Browns fans to sit back and take this in and go, were we even supposed to make the playoffs this year with a rookie head coach? Were we supposed to do all the things that were thrown at us in a pandemic? Probably not. And then when I got home from the Kansas City Chiefs game, everybody was giving me high fives. Hey, you guys played a tough game. And then this hat came in the mail. It says 2020 playoffs. And I said to myself, I'm not happy. I'm not mad or sad, but I'm not happy. But I got a lot more out of my Browns than I've gotten in a long time. And the future is bright. We have young talent. We have a salary cap that's very friendly to us. And I said, all the players thanked the fans. We'll be back. Don't give up on us. And I thought, for the first time, Allie, in a long, long time, we've got a winner in Cleveland that looks like they can be a consistent winner for years. And that gave me hope, right? I came back with hope. And so all I can say is, Browns fans, we have a lot to look forward to in this offseason. And we'll get into this with Andrew Berry today. But they're going to build and fix the things that need to get fixed. And I think we're on the right track. So take it away, Allie.
I like it. That's a lot of optimism. I'm coming in here saying, I'm still grieving. I'm negative Nancy over here.
Got the yin and the yang, right?
You do. You have to have that balance. But you're right. There is a lot of hope. There is a lot of optimism. There's a lot to look forward to. And I feel kind of weird saying that after a Browns season. Normally, this time of year, you're like, oh, we're done. It's over. All right. Which quarterback are we going to take in the draft? Or are we picking in the top 10? Or how are we feeling? It's just
or what coaches are fired.
Yeah, who's coming back? Now, here's the thing, guys. Let me paint the picture for you. We've got an entire coaching staff that Kevin Stefanski said that he expects back in 2021. That's huge news, by the way. You have healthy players coming back. Mind you, you're getting Grant Delpit, Greedy Williams back off of those season-ending injuries, hopefully.
Plus all the guys on COVID that went out.
Exactly. Andrew Billings. Yeah, you've got all these guys.
Yeah.
But you're coming off of I don't want to say emotional roller coaster of a postseason, but it was, with the COVID implications, with your wide receivers out against the Jets, with Kevin Stefanski coaching from his basement, so on and so forth. It's just, I'm exhausted. Like I told Dustin before we got on the program tonight, like I'm so tired. And it's because I'm still just trying to catch up and understand my emotions. And while I am grieving because it's a very abrupt end to the season.
Always is, right?
It always is so abrupt, but especially in the postseason, and us Browns fans aren't used to that right now. We're not used to having that just abrupt ending. In the regular season, you're like, oh, okay, all right, we know it's the last game. It's done. It's over with. Let's move on. But in the postseason, you always have that hope. We can still play next week. One more game. We go 1-0 each week. We can make it one more. But we didn't get that closure, and I'm still kind of coming off of that high. And I guess maybe grieving isn't the word, but I'm still just coming down off of that.
Here's something I can leave you with, Allie. You're coming off a 12-win season. Let me have that come out of your mouth. You're coming off a 12-win season.
That sounds pretty good.
12 wins in one season. And oh, by the way, you're probably looking, if you have your entire wide receiver core and all the players for the Jets game, you're probably looking at a 13-win season and probably winning the division. That's how close this game is from being a 12-4 team and winning 13 possible games. I mean, think about that. That's the kind of season we're on. And that's how close the Browns, I think, are. And even though we've lost, I think we're going to be very, very hungry because if there's anything, they've tasted it now, right? They know how close they were. And when you see Miles go, they made 2 extra plays. That's the difference in this game. They made 2 extra plays, on 4th down, you look at it, that's a game of inches, right? Like literally they got the first down when all they needed was a yard.
You know what that game reminded me of a little bit, and we're going to get into all the details of the game. We'll talk about it. But you know what it kind of brought me back to was, do you remember 2 years ago, you have Tom Brady and Pat Mahomes facing off, and D Ford lines up offsides,
That was
and
it.
that gives Tom Brady the ball back.
That's it.
And at
That
that
was the
point in
difference.
time, Pat Mahomes didn't get his second opportunity in overtime to go and win the game because NFL overtime rules are, we can agree that, they're kind of silly. Pat Mahomes didn't end up getting the ball.
I
And I
have a
feel
I
like,
I have a friend that's a Chiefs fan, and he just yelled at the television, goes,
right, but my
right there,
point,
right
my
there.
yeah, my point is Pat Mahomes didn't get the ball back, even though he probably fully expected to. And he was,
Sure.
I think, that was his first or second season as a starter. You look at this game against the Chiefs in Arrowhead, Baker Mayfield doesn't get the opportunity to go down and drive,
He doesn't get the
drive
ball,
to get a
doesn't
touchdown.
get
He doesn't
that
get
ball
that
back.
opportunity, but the Kansas City Chiefs come back the following year. What do? They win the Super Bowl. Now
Well,
I'm not saying that the Browns are going to go win the Super Bowl next year, but what I'm saying is there's that, here it is, Dustin, alignment within the organization. You have continuity. Your coaching staff is coming back, your play callers coming back, your signal callers coming back. Everybody's going to be there. It's going to be the same system, but yet better with who you get in the offseason, free agency, and the draft. But you also allow your team to get healthy and come back and do it again.
well, think about it. I mean, we all saw what Travis Kelsey was doing this. If you have a Grant Delpit and a Greedy Williams back there, that's a whole different kind of back end of your defense in that
Mhm.
football game, right? And to your point, Allie, like it is a game of inches. And I, I literally looked up at the clock, Allie, because I was sitting on the 20-yard line and I'm watching what's happening. I'm like, Baker's going to get it back with about a minute 40, right? Like I could see it. Like here's that opportunity. You never want to give the team the ball back. But I'm like, we kind of have them on the ropes and then it doesn't happen, right? Because we didn't stop them from that gutsy
Mhm.
fourth down that they got. But I looked at the clock and said, okay, timeouts, minute 40, roughly, we'll have the ball back. And then they did, and then that was it. Poof, it was gone. They run
Mhm.
the clock out, right? And so you're right. It's that little moment that it's like one play, and you're like, you can look back to that game and go, there it is.
Yeah, and before we get into it, guys, quick shout out to our good friends at onlyincleve.com. Go check them out for all your apparel needs. They're the best. Brian's going to get his stuff out to you ASAP.
Are you
Go
wearing one
check
of
them
these
out.
things?
I am. This is an
As I say,
onlyincleve.com t-shirt. For those
yeah.
of you that are on the stream, you can see it. Those to our audio listeners, go check out onlyincleve.com. Dustin, let's go back to that moment. Let's go back to that moment where you say you only have so many of them in a game. And I think, you know,
Especially a tight game like this.
such a tight game like this, and it comes down to, and I think we knew this going into the game, this game's going to come down to whoever has the football in their hands last.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, it comes down to Chad Henne running for whatever that was. And don't get me wrong, I think that was just absurd. But let's go back to that fourth down, and I don't even remember what it was, and Kevin Stefanski's decision to punt the ball. What was going through your mind at that time?
Well, it was 4th and 9, right?
I think so, yeah.
I mean, that's a lot, guys. And
Mhm.
so I was like, he's playing. Well, you know what? He was playing what a coach should. I would never question on that. If it's a 4th and 3, if it's a 4th and 4, 4th and 2, and 4th and 1, I'm like, you've gotten the other 2 4th downs you've went for in the game, but 4th and 9, I think, Allie, if you don't get it there, the game is literally over there because Kansas City can kick a field goal and go up by 8 now, right? And now you got to score a touchdown. Now you got to get the 2 extra. The math starts going away from you, right? The odds of what the odds makers would say that you winning the football game starts to become a little more
Mhm.
micro, right? So in that situation, I kick it. I do because my defense, people remember this. The Browns gave up a field goal in the second half.
Right.
That's it. 3 points. 3 points in the second half of this football game. They came out, they played their hearts out, and they were gassed. I mean, we all know that Patrick Mahomes was going up and down the field. Travis Kelsey was catching everything thrown to him, catching it out of the air like he's Superman. But I think you got to punt there and lean on your defense a little bit and know that Henny's in the game. And I think that was part of the conversation too. If Patrick Mahomes in there, maybe you do go for it, right? Because you don't want to give it to Patrick Mahomes again. But Henny, right? It's Henny. It's not your $500 million man out there with a world champion experience of winning Super Bowl. It's a different dynamic. I'll take my chances with Henny. I don't question Stefanski one bit in that. He played the odds. So
I agree. If I'm Kevin Stefanski, I also punt that ball. Now I'm not a play caller. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about, but I agree with his decision there. You trust your defense there. Now you're right. You don't give it back to Pat Mahomes. That's probably an entirely different story. But to give it to Chad Henne, yeah, you like your chances. Now let's go to that. Let's go to that 13-yard run by Chad Henne. I think this game. I think if you take a look at the Kansas City Chiefs versus the Cleveland Browns. In terms of actual talent, I don't think there's a huge gap. But where there is a very large gap is in terms of speed. And what I mean by that is offensively for the Kansas City Chiefs, it looked like, especially when Pat Mahomes was in, to kind of just the blind eye, it looked like he was able to just make wide open throws. Now, part of that you could say, well, this is Joe Woods. Why is he allowing this? No, it comes down to an element of speed. Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, all of those guys are able to move so quickly, and there's so much motion in the play design of Andy Reid and what he's able to do. You don't know where the football's going to go. It's
Right.
so intelligent and so complex, but it comes down to speed. Now, if you look at it, the Browns offense, it's not that we don't have that. It's just we don't have it as much of it. So you have those tight window throws. Now, thankfully, Baker Mayfield is able to make those, but that's why it looked so much harder for the Browns.
Well, with an OBJ out there, what's the difference, right? Now you have that speed deep threat.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. And then you have, Peoples Jones maybe lined up as well. Now you got two speedsters that can, maybe threaten
Now, by
down.
the way, not to interrupt you, but by the way, Donovan Peoples-Jones is not known for being a speedster. Now, he had a couple big breaks this season, but that's not who he is.
No,
He's not the
but
kind of guy
he
that
can
can
be.
take the
He
top
can,
off of a defense like Odell.
yeah, but he can be at
He
times when he
can,
needs to
yes.
be. Yeah.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
but OBJ is going to draw two, right? So someone like People Jones can get wide open and speed off, right? Like that's the whole idea of he's going to put two people on, because OBJ will do one of these and then gone, right? Like that's what that gives you in that situation. And so,
Yeah.
yes, I think if we had more speed on there, but I honestly, here's the thing, OBJ or not, I just look at the back part of the Browns. If you have Greedy and Delpit and some of those other pieces back there, weren't they're not getting those big chunk plays as much as they think they are. And then it's a real chess game, and it really is a little seesaw back and forth. I mean, 22 points, guys. 22 points is all the Kansas City Chiefs put up. Let me say that again. 22 points. That's about half of what they average. Half. That means the Browns brought their A game. And I know the Browns, when they went into this game, knew they could beat the Chiefs. They felt it. They were confident. And they know, and I think they even knew in this game, like when he got that 13-yard run that you're referring to, like they thought, okay, even if they go for it on the fourth here, the Browns are going to get the ball like at midfield, Allie. Like with a minute 40, that's an eternity for Baker, right? He can go down the field and get that. And they're going to play a little bit of prevent because they don't want him to score a touchdown, right? So, again, this game was so darn close, Allie. Like I was sitting there about ready to have a panic attack in the game. And I can tell you what also went through my mind, and I know a lot of Browns fans thought this. When that stupid ball that Higgins put over the goalpost. I mean, this has been talked about for days now.
Yeah.
And I know they're going to change the rule. Thank you, National Football League. I think they're going to change this rule, it sounds like, to where the ball would actually be given back to the Browns in that situation.
Hopefully. Yeah, that's just egregious.
Yeah. But here's the thing. It was clearly targeting. It was clearly he was leading with his helmet. But all that said, I guarantee you a lot of Browns fans, Allie, your father included, probably said, there's the fumble moment. There's the drive moment.
Yep.
There it is in a playoff game. And they can point and go, there it is. And you know what? I said it, sat in my seats. I'm like, will that be the play?
Yeah, Red Right 88. The drive, the fumble, the touchback.
Add it to the list, Allie. There it is. And I guarantee you all the Browns fans are probably in your feed going, yeah, we all thought that. There's the play. We were waiting for it. Now, again, this Browns team doesn't know any of that memory. They've heard about it. I don't think that gets stuck in this realm of players, but it sure looked like that.
We know it all too well. Like it's just part of who we are. And, we'll, I don't want to go down too much of a rabbit hole in that because I think it's us Browns fans need to reshape the way that we think. And I think that this organization and this current team has proven that. Hey, we're not this old team. And we've done shows and shows and shows about it. And we're not going to get into it. But one thing I do want to go back to is that speed element and Odell Beckham Jr. But quickly, Dustin, if I had to pick one game for Odell Beckham Jr. to be a part of this season, it would have been this football game.
Mm-hmm.
I think he absolutely would have given that extra element to allow this offense to completely
Well,
just
he's your equal to Tyreek Hill or Travis Kelce in this football
mhm,
game. He's your equal, right? As
yeah.
far as the neutralizer, like, hey, we got one of these on offense, you've got one of these on offense,
Mhm.
right? That's kind of your neutralizer here. Um, Not to say, um, we can get into this a little bit, but Andrew Berry in his press conference today, for instance, said, they really, really addressed the offense this offseason, right?
Yeah.
Maybe they go get another speedster, at a good price, right? Maybe to add to this wide receiver core. But Ali, one of the best comments that came out of that game, the guys are all mic'd up. Did you see what number is it Matthews? Said, did you see 77 put me on my ass? Put me on my ass.
I didn't see it. No.
Oh, it was hilarious. Like he's mic'd up going, he goes, 77 just put me on my ass, guys. Like literally, he says that in the football game. And if you go back and look at the play, alley, he literally lays out, is it Matthews, Mathe, the player for the Chiefs
Tyron
plays
Matthew.
Tyron Matthews. He literally says, 77 just laid me on my ass. And you
Oh,
can see the play. He literally comes in and just bam, and he just lays him out. And like he's just laying there like he's like, did that just happen?
yeah. I don't know. I didn't see that one, but going back to Andrew Berry's press availability, he was able to have his postseason press conference where he obviously addressed the entire season and what's going on. So just kind of to recap that, one thing I do want to speak on are and especially credit real quick to clevelandbrowns.com. Andrew Gribble, senior staff writer, for his outline of the 6 things that we learned from Andrew Berry's end of season press conference. And I'm not going to roll through all of this, but he makes some really good points. One thing Andrew Berry has come out and said is that the Browns are well positioned no matter what happens to the salary cap. So we do know going into this offseason that there are some changes to the salary cap, but Dustin, you mentioned right off the top, kind of a nice little cap friendly team as we go upon this offseason with the draft and free agency.
Yeah, when you look at the unrestricted free agents for the Cleveland Browns, I mean, there was a few on there you hope they re-sign, but it wasn't anything scary that looked at me like, oh boy, we're going to be in contract negotiations or there's going to be a big departure of somebody, right? Um, we can get into it, Ali. I mean, I think we could all say that Baker probably earned a contract there. And I'm sure there's going to be conversations to sign him sooner than later,
Mhm.
right? Like, I think that's got to probably be addressed this offseason when you assume that's going to have to be
Yeah,
addressed.
I would absolutely imagine that. And just going off of also what he says, real quick on that, he has a ton of high praise for Baker Mayfield and what he's been able to accomplish or I'm sorry, this season. I do. I think that's well within reach. I think if you are the front office of the Cleveland Browns taking a look at the current construct of the roster and you're taking a look at Baker Mayfield, he came out and he answered all questions that you have regarding you know, the future of this organization. We'll get into that here in a second, but just to recap the rest of Andrew Berry's press availability, the Browns are looking to upgrade all areas of the roster. And I want to touch on this. When he came in last year with the implementation of the scheme, with the acquisitions
Mhm.
of the free agent players and the draft, and adding all of this talent to the roster, one thing that they put a huge area of focus on was the offensive line. As we know, they draft a left tackle. They bring in Jack Conklin. There's quite a few movements there on that offensive line. But they spent a lot of time on the offensive side of the football. Harrison Bryant, Austin Hooper, bringing back Hollywood Higgins. There was a lot of movement there on the offensive side of the football to make sure that, hey, Baker has all the tools and resources he needs to go out and prove his worth. Now,
Mhm.
I think going into this offseason, that exact same focus emphasis is going to be put on the defense. I see the comments, guys. I know and understand that was obviously where we were depleted. I think we can all agree that, especially in the secondary. And in my eyes, I think you need to absolutely add another edge rusher to pair next to Myles Garrett. But that's just me. So I think that
There
Andrew Berry.
happens to be a free agent out there right now.
Yeah, there
Awesome.
could be. But the Browns looking to upgrade all areas of the roster. So I think that's something we can absolutely look forward to as we go into this offseason. But Dustin, let's get into it. Let's talk about Baker Mayfield and what he's brought to the table.
Well, I mean, had a great rookie season, had a sophomore slump, And then in his third year, which is kind of your make it or break it year, if you're probably a rookie quarterback, to get out of your rookie contract, did you win 10 or more games? Check. Did you take your team to the playoffs? Check. Did you win a playoff game? Check. He's checked all the boxes, in my opinion. Oh, no,
Yeah.
by the way, were you accurate and did all of your things say that? According to the analytics that I've seen out there, Baker needs to be paid $35 million a year. That's about the price tag that they've put him out there. He's not probably in that sixth to eighth highest paid quarterback in, when you get to that scheme, but I think that's where he's at. I think he needs to be paid. I think he deserves it, and he's the first quarterback in Cleveland in 26 years to take somebody to the second round of the playoffs. I mean, like, I think you need to pay the guy. And by the way, he's all in on Cleveland. This isn't like he's going anywhere. Pay the guy. Like, he's Cleveland, right? I mean, the freaking guy's doing Progressive commercials in the state of Ohio, which is an insurance company in Ohio. He loves Cleveland. He loves the fans. He's bought in. He's 100% in.
And on that, 62.8% completion, 3,563 yards, 7.3 yards per attempt, 26 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, 305 completions, and 486 attempts for the 2020 season.
Yeah.
Yeah, not bad. Not too bad right there. So I'm not going to speak to the actual dollar amount.
I did.
That's not me. I don't want to
I'm
misspeak.
in marketing.
I'm not as well educated on that as Dustin is, but I will tell you this. Yeah, he earns a second contract. And I think that's a huge priority this offseason.
Yeah. And I think if you can settle on a number, then you can kind of work the rest of the roster in your salary cap at that point, because that's the 800-pound gorilla in the room, right? How much does Baker want per year?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, and what can he agree on? And, and here's the thing that we're all going to know about. Okay, you're going to give him the contract, but what are the guarantees? That's always the biggest part of a contract, are the guarantees. Or 3 years of this guaranteed of the 5. Is it all guaranteed, right? Because then, maybe he comes in a little lower and says, you know what, I'll come in at this, but it's guaranteed money, right? Like, so I think those would be some of the negotiations to be done. But you know what? I'm proud to be a Baker Mayfield fan. And all those fans that were ready to jump off the bandwagon in week 7, well, see ya.
Peace and blessings. Have fun.
Because you know what? Baker loves that chip on the shoulder. He came into that game. He gave it his all. You can say, okay, he threw an interception, at the end of the beginning of the third quarter. But then guess what? They kick a field goal that hits the damn uprights, right? So it's neutral at that point, right? Like, that interception didn't hurt us, right? So we're back to phase 0. And oh, by the way, he kept driving down the fields and played a very great second half. So he's resilient. That's what I like about Baker. If I can say anything, it doesn't get in his head. That's the one thing I see from Baker. He kind of throws it off his shoulder, moves on to the next play. Back to Stefanski, embrace the suck. Yeah, you threw a pick, move on. But this is not who you are, and just go out and keep competing. And I saw on the sidelines, by the way, Allie, a guy that was literally walking from player to player to player to player. Keep your head in the game. Let's go, guys. We're in this. We've got them where we want them. I mean, I'm hearing this being yelled from the sidelines from the leader of the football team. I want that guy.
Yeah, and going, when we thought Baker Mayfield was going to get the ball with a minute and 30 seconds left to go down, to drive the team down to score, I had all the confidence in the world he was going to make it happen.
Oh,
I had all the confidence in the world he was going to make it happen. And really from the bye week on, I had the utmost confidence in him as a quarterback to make the right decisions, to make the right reads, and to make the right throws. And he did it. He did it. I had no questions after that, especially as he led us to the postseason. I didn't want anybody else in the world to lead the team there other than Baker Mayfield.
Well, Allie, you probably remember this. I mean, you were watching up close, but do you remember in the first half, there was a play, and we all know this from the earlier days of Baker, where he was really pressured and he ran out and he threw it away, and he didn't get called for, being outside the tackles or intentional grounding.
Yeah.
But I was like, that is the new Baker. Nothing's here. Nothing's here. It's first down. I'll live for another day. I'm going to throw it out of bounds. Let's start again. Right. Like, that's where I've seen the progression of Baker. Like, in the past, he may try to run that, maybe only get a yard, maybe gets sacked for a loss. He just threw it away and said, you know what? Another
Mhm.
down, guys. Let's try it again.
That's what good coaching does. That's what a good
Mhm.
scheme does. That's what a good quarterback does. But thankfully, we also have the offensive line to protect Baker Mayfield, and we will for years to come. Before we, get into our second segment here, guys, want to just encourage you, go check out our friends at onlyincleve.com. I'm telling you, they're the best. They're the best in the business. What more can I say? Go check out Brian at onlyincleve.com. Get your hats, get your apparel, get your Cavs, Indians, Ohio State, Browns, anything you need, they've got it. Go check them out.
Or Cleveland merchandise of the city, all different kinds of stuff.
Or
It's
that you want the
Cleveland themed, yeah.
Cleveland skyline, they've got it. They've got all you need. And you can also go get your official Here We Go Brownies podcast merchandise at onlyincleve.com. Dustin, let's get into some postseason awards. We did this kind of at the quarter season mark. We did preseason, quarter season, half the season, and now we're done. Let's give away some postseason awards. Now, previously on other podcasts, we did around the league, but I want to do this one just for the Browns. Just for
Okay.
the Browns.
I like it. I love it, Allie.
And our categories are as follows: coach, assistant coach of the year. And the reason I'm doing assistant coach of the year is because I think it's all agreed that Kevin Stefanski is the coach of the year. So I want to put that one aside and
Of
I
the
want to focus
entire league,
for
not
the
just
league. Yes.
Browns.
And I want to focus in on assistant coach of the year, the MVP, defensive player of the year, and rookie of the year.
Okay.
And we're going to limit it to that.
Okay.
So let's kick it off first with assistant coach of the year, and I will turn it over to you first, Dustin.
Callahan, without a doubt. I think he is the difference. I had a friend come up to me and he said, I was watching a Browns game. He goes, specifically your Pittsburgh Steelers game. And he goes, you know what amazed me? You had like 3 offensive linemen go out. You had nobodies come in, it seemed like, and they were better than my entire starting offensive line. So, you know what? That's coaching, Allie. That is complete coaching. And to have Jedrick Wills ready to go, and hardly miss a beat. I think he made the first team list for rookies of the mini list. But I'm going Callahan just because this offensive line has kept Baker upright all season. He's not been sacked. God, how many times has he been sacked, Ali? I can't remember. It's not been a lot. It's a handful.
It's certainly not been a lot. Let me pull that stat here. I don't know. I don't have it in front of me.
To me, that just when you can keep your quarterback clean, healthy, and a clean pocket to where he can get out of the pocket if he needs to, or get the ball to Nick Chubb or Kareem Hunt. So mine goes to Callahan as the assistant coach of the year. And also because of his experience, it was a no-brainer to bring in somebody that's been a former head coach. And he knows offensive lines. He's probably the only one other than Allie that knows offensive lines better. Mine goes to, mine's Callahan. That was a no-brainer for assistant coach of the year.
Yeah. Same. Retweet. It's Bill Callahan.
Did you pick Callahan too?
Oh yeah. I don't even think it's a question. Now I will say I love what Chad O'Shea brings to the table. Wide receivers coach. I think he's great. I think it's a huge element to what this offense is. Obviously, Coach Stefanski is the man, but don't get me wrong, Stump Mitchell, Drew Petzing, those guys also have those guys ready to go at all times in the running back room, the tight end room. But I really have to give this one to Bill Callahan for several reasons. One, just bringing his veteran presence into the room and bringing that winning culture first and foremost, especially with a rookie head coach. But Andrew Berry, Kevin Stefanski, alignment within the organization. There it is, Dustin. They recognized a huge area of concern in 2019. That was obviously the offensive line. You have Chris Hubbard starting on the right tackle. You have Greg Robinson at left. And honestly, Baker Mayfield was puzzled. He was under pressure,
running for his life.
There was no ability for him to succeed in the 2019 season. I'm giving this to Bill Callahan. He's able to bring in Jedrick Wills, transition him from right tackle to left tackle from Alabama into the pros. You bring in Wyatt Teller. Do you remember? And I put my foot in my mouth so many times on this one. Going into this season, I said, what are the Cleveland Browns going to do with the right guard position? What are they going to do? I have no idea. And I remember getting on with Nick Shook, and he's like, well, keep in mind, they do have Chris Hubbard. He could slide over. Nobody knew Wyatt Teller was going to be Wyatt Teller. Nobody knew. Right. But to bring in Nick Harris, Blake Hant, by the way, Michael Dunn, Kendall Lamb, those guys to be able to come in the blink of an eye with limited reps, to be able to protect Baker Mayfield and know exactly what they needed to do.
Well,
It's just that's coaching. That's coaching,
well,
and I give it all day. Bill Callahan.
who's number 77?
Why, Teller?
Laid him on his ass. That's right. That's what I'm
He
saying.
did,
Like,
yeah.
yeah, I'm just saying, like, that just goes to show you what kind of depth we have there. So, and I think that whole offensive line is just, I mean, that's why it's graded out as number one in the National Football League.
Yeah, I think no brainer. This one's Bill Callahan. No questions asked. Defensive player of the year. Who you giving this one to?
Boy, this is a tough one for me, Allie. Because here's the thing: the defense has been all over the place this year,
Right.
right? Like, can I just do this? I mean, I'm going to give it to a unit.
You
I'm going to give
can't.
it to.
You can't. This is defensive player of the year.
Damn
Now,
it,
if this was a game ball, sure, but a postseason award, who you have to narrow it down? Who you giving the ball to? Or I'm sorry, giving the award to?
Defensive Player of the
Yeah.
Year.
All right, I'll go first.
You know what? I'm going to do this just because I'm fine with this. If I have to pick one player,
Yeah.
and I guess where I'm going with this is the way he played through adversity, and I'm wearing his jersey, and that's Myles Garrett. And the reason I'm going to go with Myles Garrett, he still had, I believe, 13 sacks on the season.
Yeah, 12.
Clearly suffered from COVID, like taking time off and reps just to get healthy, and still played through adversity. I'm going to give it to Myles Garrett just because from everything he sacrificed as a player and still had 12 sacks
Mm-hmm.
and got COVID. You know, it's like he's Superman and you threw kryptonite at him and he still punched you in the face. Like, I don't know. That's if I had to give it to one, he would edge out just because of all the adversity and having the 12 sacks. I'm going to go with Myles Garrett on this one.
Yeah, and I don't think it's any question. I have to agree here. You have 33 tackles on this season, 12 sacks, 4 forced fumbles. By the way,
Yeah.
That's pretty darn good. Here's the thing: you mentioned adversity. He's the kind of guy that's right now. He's your leader of the defense, especially on the front seven. You have guys, of course. Olivier Vernon is also kind of that maybe next man up, but he obviously suffered that season-ending injury, of course. And once he went out, it was much more difficult for Myles. He was still recovering from COVID. There was just a ton of adversity for Myles Garrett, but to consistently put out those numbers. Now, we didn't see his best play down the stretch, but really going into the season, especially up until the midpoint when he did get sick, he was playing lights out. I mean, probably just a walk-in for Defensive Player of the Year in the NFL.
Here's a little thing you may not have known that I've learned from being at the game and being around intimately with all the folks. Myles Garrett was the captain of the team for the last 3 weeks of the season.
Correct.
So for the 2 playoff games and the Pittsburgh game, he was the captain of the game, of the team. So that says a lot about his leadership as well. And that's a vote count, right? That's a vote among the players. Who do you want to be the captain to go out there for the game? So so that's why I'd probably give him the nod as well.
All right. Rookie of the Year.
Rookie of the Year. I gotta go. I'm gonna go with the big man, Jedrick Wills. I'm gonna go. We all saw like there was probably 5 or 6 plays this year, like it was a false start or this or that, and you just go, yeah, he's a rookie. But for the most part, for the entire football season, you didn't hear much out of the left tackle, and you didn't see Baker Mayfield on the ground from your blind side. Mm-hmm. And you know what? Those are 2 good things. I always say, if you don't hear it from your offensive linemen, they're doing their damn job. Right? The big guys, if the big guys are doing their job, you don't hear holding number 70, whatever, right? Like if you don't hear that most of the season, they're doing their job. And for the most part, Jedrick was just a silent enemy out there and just did his job. So I'm going to go with Jedrick Wills for Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, Big Jed. Yeah, he did. He had such a great season. Now, for the sake of podcasting, I'm actually going to go in a different direction here, but I want to preface with this. I do not disagree with anything you just said. I love Jedrick Wills. I love him as the anchor on the left side of the offensive line, especially as we project ahead to the future. I think he is the future of that position for the Cleveland Browns.
Can I guess where you're going?
You cannot guess where I'm going, because that is not good podcasting, Dustin. But I'm actually going to go Donovan Peoples-Jones on this one. And Dustin knew it. Of course he did. But, looking at it, and I don't think – now, let me say this. If I had a tangible trophy right here to hand to the player, I would give it to Jedrick Wills. He was consistently there over the course of the season. Now, Donovan Peoples-Jones, he wasn't given his opportunity really until the Cincinnati game. And his stats on the year.
But
This
boy,
is
did he seize the moment once he got it.
That's exactly my point. And that's it, really from that point forward, he just elevated his game. He was consistent. He was reliable. 14 receptions on 20 total targets, 304 yards on the season, 21.7 yards average, and 2 touchdowns.
Well,
So
and guess what he had to do, Allie? To your point, why you put him in your slot there. When OBJ went out, he had to step up. It was next man up. He had to fill a role, right? He had to go out there and be the next man up. And he kind of seized the opportunity and he went with it. And I got to meet his mom. His mom says, "You just wait, my boy. Next year, even better." Like you can tell, like he's ready to take it to the next level as a wide
no,
receiver.
he absolutely is. And I think I'm not saying this as an Ohio State fan, but I just think Michigan did him an absolute disservice. You know, the offense that Josh Gaddis was calling, obviously his quarterback just didn't put Donovan Peoples-Jones in a position to succeed. I really think if he
Yeah,
would
I
have
agree with
gone to
that.
another program with a better offense or a better scheme or a better quarterback, and that's really no disrespect to them, I think he could have been a day 2 wide receiver.
Yeah.
Coming off the board rather than a 6th round pick. But I
Well,
completely agree. His future is bright, man. I'm giving my for this podcast and this podcast only, my award's going to DPJ.
how about this, Al? It just goes to show you how well a drafter
My
Andrew
point.
Berry is.
My
Yeah.
point.
I mean,
The
look
off
at this.
season is bright.
Yeah, look at that. But I mean, look at Andrew Berry finding this guy, right? And then being able to implement into and seeing that he would fit perfectly into
Real
Stefanski's
quick,
system.
real quick, if you will, if you remember going into the season after the draft, and one of my biggest pet peeves, Dustin, is when people can't separate their fandom between college and the pros. And
Yes,
oftentimes
we talked about this off air quite often.
I,
Yes.
I'm a huge Ohio State fan. I am. I do. I love the Buckeyes, but two separate things. Those are two separate things. Now, I remember when we drafted Donovan Peoples-Jones, everybody on Facebook was like, "Are you kidding me?
A
KJ Hill was
Michigan
on
guy.
the board."
A Michigan guy. Right. They were all
Yeah. Oh my God. But the fact that KJ Hill was still on the board and the Browns went with Donovan Peoples-Jones. Now, looking back on it, take a look at what he did over the course of the season. I'm going to go specifically back to the Cincinnati game. Would KJ Hill have been able to provide that ability? No, because he's a slot receiver. It
right.
would not have worked to fit the scheme. So I just want to say that, guys, as we go into the offseason, as we go into the draft, keep your fandom separate. They're two separate things. With that, let's get into the MVP. Dustin, who you got?
Oh, you may change it because of podcasting, but I don't know if you need to. But clearly, the MVP this season is Baker playoff maker.
Obviously, I'm not changing that one for podcasting because I knew we would be on the same page, which is why I
I
changed
mean,
Rookie of the Year because we can't have them all the same.
that's what I tell everybody at work, and they just laugh at me. They're like, "You're giddy as can be." I go, Baker, playoff maker." I mean, because now he's a winning core. No, I think. I mean, let's put it this way, Ali. Tell me if I'm correct. Lamar Jackson's been to the playoffs 3 years, correct? All 3 years.
That's correct.
Okay, all the people that were not on the Baker bandwagon are probably jumping back on because they want to be part of something fun. Lamar Jackson won his first playoff game this year in year 3.
That's correct.
Baker was given one opportunity in one season to win a playoff game, and he did it. He's 1 for 1 going into a playoff season of winning his first game. That, to me, that stuck out to me. Like, he got an opportunity, and he seized the moment and won a playoff game as soon as he had it.
Yeah, my MVP, it's obviously Baker Mayfield. When you take a look at this offense, when you take a look at this team, who do you think of? It's Baker Mayfield's team. I don't think there's any question about it. Now you have your key players, Odell Beckham Jr., Jarvis Landry, Nick Chubb, Myles Garrett. The list goes on, but this is Baker Mayfield's team. And something I want to point out is that interception statistic. 26 touchdowns on the year, 8 interceptions. Let's take a look at 2019.
24
21 interceptions on
to
20. So
22.
it was 22 touchdowns.
Yeah.
21 interceptions.
It's
Now, I know this award isn't most improved. That's not what this is. But you have to factor that into it, I think. You have to take a look at how far he's come. This team starts and ends with Baker Mayfield.
Well,
it does.
Or how about just stability in a coaching staff and a system that works for a quarterback? Like, Baker has been in 3 systems in 3 years. You bring in a system that's built to succeed I mean, we see this all the time in the NFL. New coach comes in and the quarterback's like, huh, this is not, I'm not made for this. And you really got to say, I got to build something around this quarterback because he's going to be here a while, and I got to make this. And I mean, Kevin Stefanski, I mean, I talk about this all the time. You need to really dial in and look at Kevin Stefanski. He took Kirk Cousins and turned it and made him into the NFC Championship game. He's taken Baker Mayfield already and got him to the second round of the playoffs. Coach Stefanski gets the most out of his damn quarterbacks, people, and you better take notice because that guy knows what he's doing. I'm telling you, he knows what he does when it comes to quarterbacks.
You know, when we went into the season, Dustin and I said, "Hey, we're going and trying to play an entire NFL season amidst a pandemic, but I wouldn't want anybody else leading the way other than Baker Mayfield and Kevin Stefanski." And this is no disrespect to Freddie Kitchens or the coaching staff last year, but could you imagine that element, that coaching staff, that roster, that team being led through a pandemic that way? Could you imagine?
Yeah, hot.
It'd be a dumpster fire.
It'd be a hot mess.
It'd be a dumpster fire. I'm just
You'd probably have Haslam jumping in the lake. I'm telling you,
it would not be good.
It would not
You
be
know,
good.
I hate to oh god, I hate to say this because it's so cliche, but isn't it funny how everything does happen for a reason? And one thing that a former coworker told me one time was, she goes, Allie, you can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking back. And I'm like, huh, you're exactly right. But looking back on it, while we had to go through 115, 0-16, the sophomore slump with Baker Mayfield, we wouldn't have been the Cleveland Browns of 2020 if we wouldn't have done all of that.
Yeah, I agree. You're spot on.
All right, we'll get off of that. Those are our postseason awards, and we will be providing you with plenty of content every Wednesday throughout this off season. So bear with us. We're probably going to be pulling our hair out trying to come up with some stuff. But right now
We'll have plenty of material, Allie.
there's plenty to talk about. There's
Allie,
plenty to talk about. How about this, Dustin? How about this? Today, Philip Rivers announces his retirement from the NFL.
My God, damn it! I love this press release. That was so Southern. I loved it. It was.
I know. And then of course you have Drew Brees out in New Orleans. We all knew that was coming. What are your thoughts on those two guys?
Is Drew Brees out?
Oh yeah, he retired. He's done.
He done? Okay.
Yeah. That came out prior to the game against Tampa Bay.
And then of course that viral video with, of course, him and Tom Brady that went viral.
Yeah, he's done. He is done.
The guy, he's a gunslinger. He was in there for a long time. I think he was all in for this season. I mean, you could kind of tell at the Colts. I thought he would be there for a couple years, honestly, at Indianapolis. I thought he would give it another go, but I feel bad for him. I hate to say this, but I kind of feel bad he didn't get a ring, man. I just feel like he's in the.
He only made one conference championship.
Well, Allie, I feel like he's in the Dan Marino club, but even worse than the Dan Marino club. Because didn't Dan Marino get to a Super Bowl and didn't win it?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah. So, I mean, but here's a guy that laid it all on the line, took the Chargers to the playoffs all the time, right? And just laid it out on the line. And dang, he just never got the ring. And, he was in the league 17 years, guys. That's a long time. That's a lot of at-bats for an organization to give you a chance to at least get a championship. I think that's why I look at things like Cleveland and go, hey, we have a young quarterback, right? Like, I think we got a chance here for the next 3 to 5 years to try to get there, right? Get to the hump and get over it. I just feel bad for the guy. I mean,
he's fifth all time in passing yards and touchdowns.
That's what I'm saying. And he better well go into the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
That's going to be my next question.
Yeah.
Be a Hall of Famer.
Yes, he needs to belong in the Hall of Fame because his stats alone prove that he's, like you said, he's a top 10 quarterback with statistically right there. I mean, based on what you just told me. So, I think personally, if he's not a first ballot Hall of Famer, that's a shame because at the very least, if he couldn't get a Super Bowl, he deserves a place with a gold jacket for sure. I mean, that guy's, he laid it on the line for
so I just found this article real quick. It's 3 stats that perfectly sum up Philip Rivers' career. And it's on fansided.com. The first one, over the course of Philip Rivers' career, 464 sacks, It's a lot.
It's a
That's a
lot.
lot. 63,440.
Passing yards.
Yes. And what's this last one here? This one's the most impressive. 252 straight starts.
He's never missed a game.
Um,
No, he's probably missed a game in there, I
he's
guess.
probably, but from whatever point on, we know he obviously played with the torn ACL in the AFC
Yeah,
Championship
he talked
game.
about that. I played a
In
game without an
2007.
ACL. But I'm saying,
252 straight starts.
but that's the kind of guy that belongs in the Hall of Fame, Allie. Like
I
that's your
agree. I do.
guy.
I agree.
I mean, that's a guy that, like, I mean, like our interview with Clay Matthews, like, talk about somebody that laid it out on the line for just as long, right? Like a Clay Matthews. He he even said it. A grinder. There you go. That's a perfect example. He's a grinder quarterback,
Yes.
right? He's a
Yeah.
grinder. Like he would go out there, I'd get sacked, but I'd get back up and I'd throw a touchdown. And he was mouthy. He even said, thanks for the fans that booed me and the fans that cheered me and the refs that put up with me. Because he was a mouther. I mean, you could see he always had his mouth going. And you know what? Here's the thing though. I think he looks at life like we all do, Allie. And you know what that is? The guy's got 9 kids. He's got a family. He's got a huge family. 9 kids, Allie. Let me put that out again. 9 kids.
That's a lot. That's a lot of children.
That's a lot of children.
A lot
That's
of
like,
mouths to feed.
Allie, you know basketball. That's almost like, a starting 5 on both sides.
Yeah, that's a whole ass team right there.
So, but I'm saying, like, he probably looks at that and goes, everybody, I mean, we're on this earth for only so long, right? So he's got a window, right? He's got all these children. Is my quality of life with my children more important, or going for one more game that, based on what I see with my gut, tells me I'm not going to get there?
Well, you know what he's doing now? Now that he's going to be stepping away from the game, he is taking on a head coaching position at the high school level in Fairhope, Alabama. So
Is that one of his kids plays? Or
no, I think actually that's where he went to school, if I'm not mistaken.
at his alma mater?
It might be, or it might. Let me look.
I got to
not
tell you,
entirely
that's
sure. But anyways, he's going to be
pretty
taking
cool.
on a head coaching position.
That's pretty cool though. But see, he's a football guy, right? Like it's in his blood. He's going to do it the rest of his life. And you know why he's doing that? Just to do it. He just wants to do it for the fun.
That is not where he went to high school, but nonetheless, still pretty cool.
Yeah.
Still pretty cool. How about Drew Brees? Is he a Hall of Famer?
Allie, come on.
Hey,
Allie,
we've got a couple. Dustin, hang on. We've got a couple more minutes
for
left
our
of this
audio,
podcast.
for just our audio folks. The fact that Allie just even asked that question.
All right, hang on. To our audio listeners, the reason behind it is we've got 3 more minutes left on this podcast, and I need 3 more minutes full of content before we wrap up. So I asked Dustin, because I feel like that can lead to 3 minutes of conversation.
Okay, yeah. Well, first of all, the short answer is yes. Here's your long answer, Allie. Is he not number 1 in passing of all time?
Yeah, he's obviously a Hall of Famer.
Okay. He's number 1. He has a Super Bowl ring. So that alone has one of those on his. I mean, that to me is like puts him in the same category as Peyton Manning, those other guys that have won.
He's a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Yeah, yes, of course, Allie. Allie's just trying to see if I'm on my game.
I know, I'm just trying to mess with Dustin a little bit. But you know what's sad though, Dustin, is to see the way that it went out for Drew Brees. I think once he got towards the end, it was very, very, very obvious that he just didn't have it anymore. He didn't have the arm.
Yeah, his arm strength.
He just didn't have it. And I hate to see that for him. I hate to see that for anybody, but of course for Drew Brees, you want to go out just a little bit better than that.
But guess what? If you're going to go out, Allie, would you say I want to go out against the 1-15 Jets, or would you want to say I lost to a 6-time Super Bowl champion?
That's a really good point. That's a really good point.
I think I can say, you know what? Good night. I had my run. I got beat by the best. They're obviously personal friends. They know each other's families. You're in the quarterback club. That's a small club when it comes to players.
Yeah, I'm part of it.
I almost said something. I almost said something else, but I'm glad I did for audio and video.
Yeah. We keep it clean here. Let's wrap up, Dustin. But before we do so, give me your score predictions. We've got Tom Brady versus Aaron Rodgers in the NFC Championship game. Tampa Bay taking on the Packers in Lambeau. What's your score prediction?
It's gonna be a close one.
Yeah.
Championship games seem to always be close. Brady versus Rodgers. Here's a little statistic that I had an argument with somebody at work. It was a fun argument. So these quarterbacks, for whatever reason, they do this. Joe Montana, Brett Favre. I still got the juice in me. I'm going to go to another team and I'm going to win a Super Bowl.
Mhm.
In our lifetime and previous to our lifetime, Allie, only one quarterback's been able to do that, to get back to the pinnacle of another team and win the Super Bowl, and that's Peyton Manning. So it's rare air.
Yeah.
Brett Favre didn't get there with the Vikings.
Mm-mm.
Joe Montana didn't get there with the Chiefs, obviously. And now Brady's trying to do that with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It ends right here. Score is going to be 30-24 Chiefs. 30-24 Packers over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Again, talking about those quarterbacks that are playing like they're in their twilight years, Aaron Rodgers seems to be playing like lights out this year. Like this is his maybe last chance that he sees it. Maybe, like with the team that he has right now, like this might be an opportunity where he knows he has that kind of team and you just run through the playoffs because you know you have a good chance to win a Super Bowl this year. I think he's not going to let that get in his way. And you have to go to Lambeau. That's a tough out for any team
Yeah, that is.
in January.
I'm going. Okay, all right. I like it. I'm kind of in that same ballpark, but I'm going Tampa Bay on this one, 27-24. I think it's a close game. I'm going Tom Brady here. I'm going Tom Brady. I don't know. You know what? I think both of these two teams are so evenly matched. It's just gonna come down. I don't know. I'm just going Tom Brady here. I'm not gonna bet against him. How about AFC Championship game? Who you got? Bills or the Chiefs, and what is your score prediction?
I have a problem with this game. Do we know if Mahomes has been cleared for this game?
We don't. He did practice today, however, but limited, and I don't know. I don't know.
All right.
I know obviously that changes everything. If he's available, it changes everything. But let's do this. Let's
24-21 Bills over the Chiefs. 24-21 Bills. And then I'm going to go ahead.
I've got Bills over the Chiefs, 24-17. I'm going Bills.
I think it's closer than that, yeah.
And the reason I'm going Bills here is I just think they're playing more cohesive and on both sides of the ball.
Look what they did to the Ravens.
I like the Bills right now. And here's the thing, guys. Browns fans, I think we can all root for the Bills right now. They're like the Browns. They're an ally to us. Let's root for them. They deserve it.
Yeah, this Bills mafia.
They're long suffering. They are so long suffering. I'm hoping the Bills can go out and get it done.
So, Allie, for our audio and video people, should we make a friendly wager on your confidence level of the Brady versus Rodgers game? Just for fun podcasting. Any
Yeah, we can. Yeah, we can do that.
What would you like to wager?
Yeah, no. You brought it up. What are we talking here? What are you thinking?
Oh, now it's back on me. I was going to see if what should we?
You bring it up. You gotta be ready.
Allie's clearly confident in her Tom Brady. You can tell. I could see the bravado. She's like,
I am.
And I'm going to go with Aaron Rodgers, who I think, by the way, is the better quarterback of the two in the big scheme of things. If you look at them as quarterbacks.
I'm not disagreeing with that. I think if we're looking at talent, yeah, Aaron Rodgers, I think has more of it.
This is easy, Allie. This is easy bet. You ready? Easy bet.
Okay.
We have limited supplies, guys, of our Here We Go Brownies hats that we'd like you to go purchase. Allie, If you lose, you have to buy me a Here We Go Brownies hat.
All right. Okay.
You have to buy me a Here We Go Brownies. That's a good
deal. We're shaking on it. Deal.
There it is. All right.
I like it. And you know what? It's a win-win either way. We're supporting our. So yeah, I'll take that bet. That's a good one.
All right.
That's a good one. But no, I don't know. It's gonna be interesting. But definitely a fun weekend, fun matchup. But with that, guys, we're kind of going up against it here. We appreciate all of you that have joined. Please continue to check us out. Dustin, go ahead.
One quick thing, guys. We are going to do this show every Wednesday consistently in the off season. We will talk about free agencies, players being let go, all those types of things. I think Allie and I will get into the 2021 schedule on our next show. That would be a
Yeah,
nice
we
thing.
didn't get to it today. We'll
Yeah,
talk
we'll
about that.
break, and I think that would be, guys. But if you guys can drop some comments of some subject matter you'd like us to cover as we work towards free agency, the draft, and the off season, just shoot us some comments. This is a show for the fans, by the fans, clearly.
Mhm.
So we want your input of what you think would be some good topics. If you want us to do 3 segments of Allie breaking down the entire NFL draft, I'm sure she would do it.
I would love to do it. So please comment that.
Look at it.
Please
She's
do
smiling.
that.
For
Yeah.
our audio people, she just got the biggest smile on her
Yes.
face. She's like, "Oh yeah,
Please
bring it."
comment that. Let us know. I would love to break down the draft, and I will do it. I will do 5 shows a week if we can talk about the draft. I'm just kidding, by the way.
By the way, sneak peek. Allie and I are planning on going to the draft. We should tell people that.
We should tell people that. And those of you who have
And
listened this far, you get to know.
it's
You're
in
in
Cleveland.
the
It's
club.
in Cleveland. I don't know if you know that's a little
It is.
friendly thing
It
for
is.
Cleveland this year.
Yeah, but guys, with that, we are going to have plenty of content coming your way. So please continue to join us weekly on Wednesdays. It'll be live, but if you don't catch us live, you can come back, check us out here on Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts, even. It's going to be there. So guys, with that, we are going to go ahead and wrap up. Appreciate all of you who've joined on the live stream tonight. Lots to kind of unfold as we go into the off season, but we'll be here along the way. Guys, with that, let's wrap up. Stay safe, stay healthy, and go Browns.
Go Browns.